Thank you very much, Professor Broyde, for this impressive journey into the culture and history of the Jewish codification in the Middle East, Levant, Eastern Europe, and in Central Europe too. You started from Mishnah and from the basis of Jewish law. Then you talk about this process, starting with different sources, then with Talmud, with different rabbi, talking about different opinions, in which the process of codification also was developed. Then you talked about Rabbi Rash, with a very important point in the history of the codification of Jewish law, about Rabbi Yaakov, and of course about the climax of this process of Jewish laws codification with Rabbi Caro on the way to Constantinople, and this was very interesting that he also talked about one or two opinions, and he also argued which one was much better. And of course, a very interesting point is here that two opinions could also be similar as good. So thank you very much for this very rich and interesting survey into the history of legal Jewish texts. We have some questions for you, and I will start with a more general one. I wonder if one can talk about the use of religious arbitration in that context. Could be this concept also imagined as part of this codification process?
I don't think so, but I'm not sure. That's a very good question, but I think that Rabbi Caro is less arbitration oriented than we might think. Arbitration works well when you think that there's a diversity of opinion, and I don't think he thought that there was a diversity of opinions present. I don't think so. It's a good question. I have to think a little bit more about it, but I think that arbitration works well as a way of narrowing diversity, and he didn't think of himself as diverse.
Yes. Thank you very much for the response. If there are any other questions?
I would welcome questions from any of you.
Any question is welcome. So, there should be some more from my colleagues. Just a moment.
I understand questions in your second language are very hard. I'll be very sympathetic to people who ask questions.
Yes, thank you so much. Just a moment. I was informed by one of my colleagues that there is a questions from someone. Yes, there is a questions regarding the concept siruv. If this is still used today among the rabbinic courts and communities.
Yes, it is still used by the rabbinical courts and communities. No doubt about it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's still a viable concept, and it's still used with no question or difficulty.
Yes. Oh, there are some more questions. Yes, I just told you the first one. And there is a remark, does this have the power to limit a person's social relations? Also the term siruv.
Yes.
This is applied.
The term siruv absolutely does have the power to limit a person's social relations. Is this not a coercive against a person's active freedom? This is an excellent question. First of all, if you reach out to me, I'll send you something that I wrote. But the answer is no. This term siruv is used to talk to the community, not to the person. It tells people that if you want to be a part of the community in good standing, we boycott. There's a tension between a person's right of association and my right of disassociation. Meaning, just because you have a right to associate with me doesn't mean I have an obligation to associate with you. So it doesn't limit anybody's freedom, I think, but it does instruct the community of the faithful not to interact with this person. There's a tension between competing freedom rights. I might have the right to act as I see fit, and you might have the right not to associate with me. Is that helpful?
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much. This is very clear to us. Any other question? So you can use the opportunity and ask.
You can ask me anything you want
about the Jewish culture and
please ask away.
Legal culture. So
anybody else?
there is one more, namely, what do the early codes of laws and legal norms say about Christians regarding disputes between Christians and Jews? How could they be judged? Is here a third-party arbitration required, or should the secular principles be applied in such cases? And
you're asking a modern or ancient question?
This is much more from a modern perspective, I believe.
Right. I think from a modern perspective, secular things are applied.
Yes, definitely. And if we can go deeper into the history, it could be a sensitive question, probably.
I think now it's all resolved in a secular way. It's now resolved in a secular way. So I think that it's resolved under secular law and in no other way. I don't think it's even a sensitive question anymore. I think now it's resolved in secular law. In the old days, it was certainly a sensitive question, but it need not be.
Yes.
Any other questions?
For us as historians, there is no more secular questions, of course.
That's correct. In the old days, it wasn't resolved easily. Sometimes they were resolved through violence. Any other questions? I know how hard it is.
The last call for questions. If there is any other question, Max? No more? So there are no more questions. Then We thank you once again for this wonderful lecture, for this privilege to have you as speaker within our lecture series. I hope that this conference has in some way contributed to the dissemination of knowledge about the importance of history of Jewish law and its universal civilization.
Yes, I hope so as well. Thank you very much. This was my privilege. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Professor Broyde. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You
Goodbye.
also. Bye-bye.